Hi there, welcome back to the Noah Presgrove case, looking at the latest news and discussions on the matter. Just recently, Tyler Hardy, one of the truck drivers, key witness at the scene, has indirectly called out Kaden Pressy for incorrect timings. And I believe this was a response to the mother, Alicia Lee. As to where exactly happened, it was on Facebook, but to which page, I'm not quite sure of. Maybe I can check later, but we're going to be looking at Reddit today from a repost, which has just come about. Credit to the poster there. Look at the comments, reactions, responses, and that's what we're going to tuck into today. So you don't want to go anywhere, make sure to stick around. And speaking of which, welcome to those that are currently here in this live video premiere. Share your thoughts and opinions, reactions in the live chat box, right hand side of the screen. And at any point you want to elaborate, you got any questions, leave them down below under this video and I'll try to respond back to them. As of recent time, with covering the odd other case on the sideline, it's been really busy. I've been uploading 2 to 3 to 4 videos every single day. I've never done anything like that before. My stamina unmatched, unparalleled to anything out there in a short burst. But whilst it's good to cover a lot, focusing in on one thing at a time is also just as important, if not more. And that's what I want to try and do once again. I've catched up with details along the way, the interviews, the critical ones. And it just so happens that tomorrow, I believe, part 2 of the Kaden Pressy interview comes about. Unless there's any delays or any unexpected turns, we'll see what happens. But, you know, with Kaden Pressy being called out just recently, indirectly by Tyler Hardy, will that be addressed tomorrow night, whichever time zone, whatever the hell you want to call it is? I guess we'll see. But in the moment right now, whilst it's all building and bubbling away, what has gone down? What's happened all of a sudden? Right? Yeah, this case has gone on for some time, and yet you look at the activity, the energy levels, much higher than ever seen before, really. Even the Dylan Rounds case, whilst yes, 2 years and people stuck around for that long, the intensity behind it, it was in different ways. Would people agree with that? With the Noah Presgrove case, quite intense at the moment. I mean, it wasn't that long ago I did the analysis of the Kaden Pressy interview backlash, in which some people still didn't understand what I was trying to get at, even though I explained it very clearly. And don't worry, I'm not going to pull Stevie Howard's dictionary of unique words and lines out to insult anyone. Don't worry, you're all safe. But I can only explain it so many times. Then there was a few other individuals here and there kind of twisting it and saying, oh, Wally Raff, you know, you don't trust him at all, don't you? You know, what do you want about it? It's like, get a grip. I didn't directly say that. You need to look, listen, learn, and rewind back. And then that should help. There's so much I can do, right? And I do use specific wording and language, or at least try to most of the time. Other humans out there don't make the effort. So that's the difference. But on Facebook in recent time, we're just having a quick glance here and there. It looks like there's been more falling outs or resistance, conflicts, misunderstandings, some people getting blocked, some people getting kicked out of somewhere, some people getting timed out, misunderstandings behind what happened to one another, all kinds of things like that. And just as a little heads up, just random because one person wanted it done, Badger Life, if you do show up in the chat, there's some individual called Steffi, not Stiff, not Stiffy, but Steffi. Some person that's come around within the Noah Presgrove case, I believe, the same that they want you to unblock them because they apologise, they're very sorry. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, but, you know, if you're aware of that Badger Life or not, I just wanted to pass the message on. Nothing that serious, but this person wants you to unblock them. I don't know if you'll see this, or if you appear in the chat later, I'll just do another response, but, you know, someone wanted it passed on, so that's what I did. Anyway, let's move on right now. So with whatever's gone on Facebook has happened, had a quick glance at it, probably need to take a look at it completely and maybe do a focus video, but at least for now, let's do a bit of a bulk. Let's kind of group it all together to get an understanding and focus in at least on one particular topic today, Tyler Hardy responding back, and I believe it was back to Alicia Lee, and if that's correct, Alicia Lee is the mother to Kaden Pressy. So of course, Alicia Lee will probably be standing up for Kaden ever since. That's very normal. But Tyler Hardy, what the hell's going on? I think without further ado, we do need to get into this post, this particular comment this correction made by Tyler Hardy in which Kaden has supposedly given incorrect timings. As you know, I might have been a bit critical on Kaden with timings and stuff, but if we're being specific, we need to be specific. And if we're going to be consistent, we want to be consistent. And I've not always seen it. I saw it at the start for some time, but ever since that first interview that came about with Kaden, it's gone a little bit off track. And if people get triggered by that, it must be a one-dimensional mindset people have, because I do look at it from all different angles. Good, bad, positive, negative, and question each human every single damn time. Just like with the Dylan Rounds case. So, war like Raf has it under control. Do you? I hope so. Anyway, if you do want to catch up on recent videos though, after watching this, click on the I symbol top right corner of the screen. You'll see my earlier videos that I did, my previous videos on the Noah Presgrove case, etc. And also, up there, you will find breaking news coverage of the Jay Slater case in which a body has been found in the area. More details revealed in that video. Be sure to check it out when you do have time. And last but not least, if you do want to support this channel, links are down below as examples. Without further ado, let's begin. Here we are, Reddit page. Some things may look different to you, like the profile picture of the page, the channel art background, it's just been updated. I believe the channel background art is actually of the cash reward, which I believe is official. Maybe we'll get to that, but I've got on the latest post at the moment. We do need to catch up first with the main point, and then we can look at the other bits and bobs along the way. 12 hours ago, TH says KP's time isn't accurate. TH means Tyler Hardy, KP means Kaden Pressy, okay? And just as a heads up, if I'm correct in saying Tyler Hardy never came across Kaden Pressy, and the same vice versa. Kaden Pressy got to the scene, supposedly from what he said, at 5:20 a.m. and left at 5:30 a.m. September 4th, Monday, 2023, Labor Day. Tyler Hardy got there at around 5:53 when the third call was made, but supposedly he made an attempt before that which didn't work because of a poor signal, and that was supposedly the second caller, the mystery caller. And as we saw in the last article what we looked at, Jimmy Williams cleared that up and debunked it, saying it was from his number. So basically, you had the service truck driver who did the first call. Second call was Tyler Hardy, didn't go through, didn't work. And then the final and third call was Tyler Hardy once again. So that makes a bit more sense there. That's kind of good to know. But still, Tyler got there much later. Kaden left earlier. So with this inaccuracies with timing, it'll be interesting to see what they actually mean. So there appears to be a caption there. I'll read the caption out first of all, and then we'll just go over the photo itself, right? Who's this by anyway? Credit to Agreeable. Kaden Pressy has stated Jack Newton burst in the door or through the door, waking him up at 5:15 a.m., as we've heard in the past, to tell him of Noah's death. Kaden Pressy says he arrived at the scene at 5:20. To 5:25 and was told to leave by a man wearing a high-vis vest. No, he got there at 5:20, but he didn't leave at 5:25. Kaden said in the interview he left at 5:30. Interesting, isn't it? But yeah, was told to leave by one of the truck drivers. And that was when Kaden said he got a towel from his red Cherokee vehicle and decided to put the towel over Noah's body as a form of privacy. He didn't get the chance to because he was told to leave. And the guy that told him to leave, one of the truck drivers, was a bit aggressive and was swearing. Why they need to be so defensive and confrontational, I wonder. But anyway, it then says, Tyler Hardy, one of the 911 callers, well actually, two of the callers, because he made the second call and then the third one, which was successful. And the first caller, who's the white service truck driver, on scene says one of the first responders was wearing a high-vis vest. He also says he heard him tell someone to leave, This brings Kaden Pressy's time of 5:15 into question. It does, doesn't it? I think the simplest explanation is Kaden Pressy is just mixing up the times. He's not lying, just simply mistaken. Well, whether it's a mistake or done on purpose, it can still cause a lot of confusion. And as long as it can be rectified and cleared up at some point, that's what matters most. Whether you're in the case or outside of the case looking in, mistakes can be made along the way, but they do need to be cleared up at some point, right? Now, let's see it from the horse's mouth. Let's get up close. What the hell's going on with these images? So, hopefully you can read what's on screen. I mean, I could zoom in if possible, but I'm not too sure if last time round it screwed me over. It did, didn't it? It spazzed out, but never mind. This is on Facebook, replies, comment section thread. Is it on Noah Presgrove's army? I'm not too sure. Maybe if this time I'll check on Facebook afterwards to see if I can locate it. But it's blanked out there, and that's just because of Reddit policies and guidelines, unfortunately. But that's basically Tyler Hardy, who you see the name blanked out, also known as TH, responding to Alicia Lee. Alicia Lee is the mother to Kaden Pressy. So Tyler says, Alicia Lee, where have I said any different? What are my discrepancies? I have said the same, me, the semi-driver, and Jack Newton until law enforcement arrived. So please tell me where my story changed, because makes no mistake. Oh no. It's the punctuation, it's the typing. Oh, I'm going to have such a bad time reading this. So if it doesn't quite make sense, that's not me. That's because of how it's been typed up, okay? So, Tyler's responding to Alicia. Unfortunately, we don't have the full text conversation here for full context, but if I can find it, I'll try and do so. Or it might even be mentioned elsewhere. So he says, where have I said any different? What are my discrepancies? Question. I've said the same thing. I've said the same, that me, the semi-driver, and Jack Newton remained there at the scene until law enforcement arrived, which would have been 6:18 a.m. when Jimmy Williams got down, and then a bit later, 6:25 or 28 onwards, Jeremiah Wilson arrived a bit later. Okay, and this guy says, please tell me where my story changed. Yeah, has it changed? I don't remember seeing it changed. Tyler says, you are the one cutting people down. Oh, can I just say one quick thing? Do you know when I said the service truck driver, that person's name is also called Tyler. But I didn't want to mention that name in case it got mixed up with Tyler Hardy. So you got Tyler Hardy in his Ford F-150 pickup truck, and then you got the service truck also called Tyler, last name not revealed. For now, we'll call Tyler, the service truck driver, simply the service truck driver, just so there's no confusion, okay? Anyway, Tyler Hardy, though, says to Alicia Lee, you are the one cutting people down when they question him. Your son is a 20-year-old adult who left his friend laying on the side of the road because someone told him to go. Because I can guarantee at 20 years old, no one is telling me to leave my best friend. Ooh, it's getting a little bit personal, isn't it? See, this is the thing. Originally, I questioned it before the interview came out. You know, Kaden told to leave. Would you take orders from a stranger, someone who's not even in an authoritative role or position? You know, if that's your friend and you care about the situation and you're worried and you want to learn the truth, you're gonna stick your ground and remain. But granted, maybe people don't want drama or conflict, so they'll back off and, you know, because they don't want any trouble. Fair enough. I also mentioned the points of, if Kaden got there afterwards and those guys were there before, those guys who were there before could have thought, is this rubbernecking? Oh, we've got an audience coming along. We don't care who you are, where you come from, but there's no reason for you to be here. You got here after the situation. We got here first, so you back away. Almost like a hierarchy, a food chain, not wanting an audience or a crowd for natural reasons or like for a misunderstanding, or more so because those people that are present wanted to conduct other business and didn't want an audience watching, didn't want any witnesses. So I threw it all out there. And in the end, Kaden Pressy, in the interview, part 1, recently said that he left, he followed orders because he was told to respect his elders, right? Out of a form of respect. Okay. Kaden also wanted to show a form of respect by covering up Noah's body. Could it have contaminated the scene? Maybe. But in the moment, you're not going to be thinking clearly, are you? But isn't it interesting how Kaden decided to follow orders and leave, and the likes of Isaac Rojas, that was very emotional, crying, upset, still followed orders. Even Mikey, who supposedly has PTSD, who could have got triggered by anything, and even Brylan Sweat, they all nodded their heads and said, yes, master, we will walk away. Maybe they all respect elders, and that's, in a way, a good thing, positive. But, maybe you could understand why Tyler Hardy is questioning this, but to go all in, maybe a bit too harsh on Kaden, maybe to the mother as well. But, we don't have the full context at this moment in time. We might get to it. But, Tyler Hardy's responding to Alicia. I don't know what Alicia has done, supposedly cutting people down. I think this might tie in with the theme, what we've been talking about recently, that after the interview with Kaden Pressy, because there was the odd little mistake, or maybe more so things being left out compared to what was said previously, right? See, this is the thing. I just want to mention it very quickly because it's very important and critical. Anyone listening in, make sure to focus right now. Is that when Kaden Pressy did his interview, there were certain events, key, important, critical events, which weren't mentioned, such as on Saturday, the falling out between Noah and Jack, supposedly, which then ultimately led to Noah leaving, going back home early Sunday morning, getting back to his house, having a shower, having a sleep, and then 5 p.m, then decided to go back down to the party house and meet up with Jack. It wasn't worded like that by Kaden. Kaden said that Sunday morning they all hung out, including Noah and Jack together. Huh? Never heard that before. Only been mentioned recently, right? So new information or new stories are coming along now, which maybe not seen as significant, but significant enough for him to be only mentioned now and not back then. And the stuff that was mentioned back then isn't mentioned now, even though Kaden Pressy mentioned the odd reference to stuff back then, but didn't mention it now. You get what I'm saying? There's certain things not exactly consistent, whether that be a time mentioned here and then a time mentioned over there, whether that be because of poor execution and wording and language, but it makes it sound like two separate things when it's actually the same thing, but just slightly out of sync or just not exactly worded clearly. There's different ways of looking at it, of course. I don't want to get too deep into that because I've already done a video about it. You can always check back. But, people being very defensive is because they're emotionally connected to Kaden Pressy, whether that be friends, family members. Of course, that's fair enough there. Motherly instinct as well with Alicia Lee, that's normal. But from the outside perspective, when people bow down and look up to Kaden Pressy, whilst it's nice to have a form of consistency and hope within someone in shining light on the truth, especially a key witness like Kaden, who was there at the party and a friend of Noah, that's all good. But if mistakes are made along the way, intentional or not, they need to be acknowledged and addressed. But it just so happens that when that's happened, the other people, the audience out there, outsiders, strangers, can snap, can bite, can bark. Has it happened to me? A very, very small extent, but it seems to be more so on Facebook, where most people gather, right? That's why in recent time, one viewer said to me, right, as a warning, just be careful if you do go over there because people can bite. Now, I don't know the true extent, but, it's creeping in here with the theme, right? Tyler Hardy having a not a go, but responding back, I guess, and calling out Alicia Lee as well. Now, in the background, Sofa Sleuths by Brooke Carter and Stevie Howard and Sarah Long are part of. It appears to be some kind of subgroup, a private one, talking about the Noah Presgrove case, but also focusing on recent time bashing Alicia Lee and Kaden Pressy, and some leaked screenshots have come out on Facebook. Is the group private? I'm assuming it is. If it's not, well then that's probably why they were able to get screenshots easily and then pass them on in the Noah Presgrove's Army Facebook page. But what's transitioning now is almost like a war, different alliances, different groups. And that sounds unfortunate, right? Almost mirroring the Dylan Brown's case. But if I be honest with you, as long as it stays over there and not on YouTube, that's okay, right? We need at least one place of tranquility. Okay? But if it doesn't last for long, it'll still be under control here. But, if any other dodgy things happen, well, we'll just have to see how that goes in time. But right now, it's not looking too good. Are bridges being burnt down? Are people who once didn't have a problem with one another now do? Maybe. You can leave your thoughts down below if you've had any interactions or negative encounters out and about. There is another post on Reddit by a guy sharing his side to do with his experiences on the page or whatever. We'll get to that later. There is a bit of catching up to do. So, Tyler Hardy says, you're the one cutting people down for when they question your son. He's a 20-year-old adult. He's left his friend laying on the side of the road because someone told him to go. I can guarantee you that at 20 years old, no one is telling me to leave. Well, that's what you would do, Tyler, but other people can react differently. But anyway, my best friend, not to mention his times don't add up. So Tyler Hardy says, Kaden Pressy's times don't add up because when you are drunk, you don't just jump in and go, you have to catch your bearing. Then he says he looked for his shoes, then has to drive there, but all those people have time to leave before the crude oil hauler initially passes the body, then comes back. So you're telling me your son shows up at 5:30 if he has to gather his bearings and shoes and drive there, and that semi-driver didn't see a slew of cars because he had to go to Terrell and come back. Okay, we're going on a bit there. There's another page which explains a bit more. It might be hard to keep up with all this, especially because some people are saying they're more confused now than ever, but it can happen, right? Not the end of the world. We'll get there eventually. But, the situation, Kaden Pressy's drunk, and should he be driving? Well, this is the thing. Kaden Pressy said in the interview that at 10:30, also known as 22:30 p.m. into the night of Sunday, Kaden said at 22:30 he stopped drinking, he sobered up because his cousin came on down and he didn't want her being touched or harassed by any of the partygoers. That would imply a bit of a hostile, unsafe environment, yet the cousin wanted to tag along nevertheless because they wanted to by choice. But I guess Kaden wasn't too comfortable about it, so he had to stop drinking. He said in the interview he sobered up real quick. And if you was to fast forward on and say, well, he Monday morning came about at 2 in the morning on Monday, he went to sleep. Then 43 minutes later, 2:43 a.m. into Monday, he's woken up by a call from his mom to do with the cousin who left the party in a car with somebody. And, the parents, family members are worried and they will pick her up. And that's what supposedly happens. So that's resolved from the looks of it. But that initial call made at 2:43 woke up Kaden from his sleep time. Then Kaden went back to sleep closer to 3 in the morning, like how he mentioned in his original statement. But as I said, in his original statement, he never mentioned anything about 2 a.m. in the morning on Monday going to sleep. So when he initially said 3 a.m. in the morning, I was assuming that was the first time he went to sleep. But it wasn't. It was the second time he went to sleep. After the first time, he was awoken 43 minutes into his sleep, close to 3 in the morning, woken up, looks around, checks who's awake, same set of people, the likes of Jack Newton, Noah Presgrove, and I think Jasmine Milan possibly. Can't remember off the top of my head, but the key individuals at least, and the victim as well. Goes back to sleep 3 in the morning, second time round, even though it wasn't mentioned like that originally. And then 5:15, then woken up the second time round by Jack Newton. So really, from 22:30 up to 5:15 the next day into the morning, he was sober. Is that correct? If he was sober Sunday night, did he drink later? Did he drink Monday morning? Because it just so happens Monday morning or so, close to that at least, Noah Presgrove approached Kaden and said, can you give me a lift back? And Kaden said, I can't. I've been drinking. And whilst that original statement made sense, onwards, in recent time with that interview and Kaden saying, I sobered up real quick. Well, what were you? Were you drunk? Were you sober? Were you sober and then got drunk again afterwards? The context is lacking. The wording isn't exactly clear. The consistency isn't quite there. That's what I base it off. But no matter how many times I say it, humans, some out there, will just not understand me. And it's unfortunate. So, how does it tie in here then? Well, 5:20 was the time when he appeared. 5:30 is when he left the highway. So would Kaden have passed by the trucker, such as the other Tyler, besides Tyler Hardy? At this moment in time, trying to catch up with everything, it's kind of hard to keep up with it, but you can let me know your thoughts below. I need to get onto the next page to see the rest. Shows up by 5:30. Shows up by 5... What the hell? Who's shown up by 5:30? Let me check that again. To leave, the crude oil hauler initially passes the body, so Tyler, not Tyler Hardy, but the other Tyler, who's driving in front with Tyler Hardy driving behind the truck, supposedly. Tyler passes the body and then eventually turns back around to park up. And Tyler Hardy says, you're telling me, Alicia, that your son, Kaden, who showed up at 5:30 at the highway... No, he didn't show up at 5:30. Kaden said he showed up at 5:20 and left at 5:30. The first call made was at 5:46, but from that recent article what we read, 5:43. So let's say at 5:43 then, the first truck driver, the semi-truck known as Tyler, first name, passes the body, makes a call, unable to stop and pull over because there's vehicles behind him, including Tyler Hardy in the pickup truck. Okay, that was when the call was made, 5:43 a.m. Well, that time is after Kaden left the scene, so obviously you're not going to see him, supposedly. But before that call was made, what time did Tyler, the semi-truck driver, drive by the body? At what time did the person, the truck driver or drivers, drive by the body and then decide to pull the phone out and then call? Because as long as it's after 5:30, they wouldn't have seen Kaden, right? Kaden said he got there 5:20, left by 5:30. So as soon as he left, then the other guys came along, I guess. But if that being the case, the ones that remained there must have packed up real quick, because Kaden was saying himself that besides Tyler Hardy and the other Tyler, before they got there, there was another set of 2 truck drivers. How crazy is that? And that set of 2 truck drivers, the original ones there, didn't even bother making a call. So what is it with these bloody people coming in pairs along the way? The first pair do F all and tell Kaden to leave, but allow Jack to remain. The second pair come on down and actually make official calls in, but they don't see anyone else around. So by the time the second pair of truck drivers, or pickup truck guy, comes along, everybody else is scattered by then. So they moved very quick, didn't they? But they made sure to leave the body there, but adjusted. That's why I really think that times like this, where there's so much confusion and mishaps and waffles and pancakes flapping about all over the place, what's needed is that hidden recorded footage, but unfortunately it can't be revealed publicly. But if it could, and it shed light on the situation in between everything going on, it could just reinforce or debunk certain points, right? It's a shame it's not around. But it just seems like Tyler Hardy has got the wrong timestamp as well, in terms of saying Kaden showed up at 5:30. He left at 5:30. Anyway, Tyler says if he has to gather his bearings and shoes and drive down from the semi, it didn't see a slew of cars. Okay, right. So the Terrell and Combat 911 call was confirmed to be 5:48. Oh God. So you got 5:43, 5:46, and 5:53. And you've also got 5:48. How many bloody timestamps are there? 5:48. Which one's that? The first caller? The second caller? The third caller? The second and the third being Tyler Hardy? The hell's going on? This typing is dodgy. Anyway, Hardy says the crude oil hauler was before that. The crude oil hauler. And he had passed the body and came back. Is this Tyler we're talking about? Not Tyler Hardy, but the other Tyler. Your son's time doesn't make sense. I did watch your podcast. You are the one coaching him in the background. That's a very interesting observation, that. I mean, I noticed it from the beginning, that when Kaden Pressy was doing the part 1 interview, he kept looking about and kind of like twisting his head and like fidgeting a little bit and twitching at times. Maybe that's because he's uncomfortable during the interview and it's a sensitive time and he's emotional, he's trying to hold it together and he's nervous. But to have somebody in the same room as you during an interview, could that cause conflict of interest? Could that be interviewer or background bias effect? You know, if the person was to speak the truth and there's other people around them, they may hold the person back. I heard some corrections and talkings going on in the background during the interview later on. Did anyone else notice that? So supposedly Alicia Lee was in the background away from the camera during that interview of Kaden Pressy. Maybe that was there just because, you know, getting on with stuff in life and chores, whatever, or maybe to support him and to make sure he's okay, or is there a bit more to it? Does anyone think? Share your thoughts down below, maybe. Yeah. Let's just get back. Your son, okay, you're in the background of things, he remembered. Kind of like, he says, Renee Milan was on the scene. She may have drove by, but she never stopped and was on the scene. I'm not accusing your son of anything except him being confused on his times, because I remember a first responder with a high-vis jacket telling someone to leave. I just don't know who he told, but please tell me where I have lied and changed who was on scene before Ellie arrived. Well, so Tyler Hardy saw a high-vis jacket man telling someone else to leave. The question that I have is, if that's really the case, how come during not interviews, but news articles, what we've read in terms of how Tyler mentioned it, Tyler said how there was no one there when I got there. So, and then Tyler's saying, well, when I was there was other people there. But then again, maybe in the mindset of Tyler, he means he got there first in his mind. Then came the first caller that was there first but couldn't stop, ended up coming back round and then pulling up. So then you got Tyler and Tyler Hardy, and then Kaden shows up. But then what about the two other truck drivers? Oh my God. It's so weird. I mean, I can picture it in my mind, but I can't really explain it because it'll just sound so confusing. It's one of those situations where I can envision it in my mind how one person could say this, the other person could say that, but either they're both right or they both misunderstood one another and they both saw one another or they both didn't. It's it's too messy. It's too messy at this moment in time to speak out or to try and put it into words. But if there comes a better opportunity, that's what I'll do. But it doesn't seem too good. Did anyone else make sense of it in the comments section? Let's check. It is recent, so we might not see all the responses. I don't know why. I'll get off. I don't know why the text is so zoomed in, but never mind. Be Kind says, I think the obvious answer is that someone with a high-vis vest was present earlier when Kaden Pressy says he was there. Yeah. I have a high-vis vest I wear when walking my dog. Truckers often wear these. It's not like it's an exclusive piece of equipment. Well, yeah, two different situations maybe. But when Tyler got there, Tyler Hardy and the other Tyler, supposedly they were the only ones there, and then came along Noah Presgrove at 6 in the morning. And then at 6:18 came along Jimmy Williams, and then a bit later, Jeremiah Wilson, the police guys. And then who else? 2 volunteer firefighters. Anyone else? At some point, Rene Milan passing by or stopping by for 30 minutes, as Kaden claims. But yeah, you say that is that someone with a high vis was present earlier when Kaden was there. But what the truck driver is saying, Tyler Hardy, is that when he was there, he saw someone in a high vis jacket as well. And that person in a high vis jacket was telling someone to leave the area. Now, it might be 2 separate times, 2 separate events, but isn't it very coincidental how the same thing which Kaden Pressy experienced and was on the receiving end of earlier was the same thing or sounded similar to what the likes of Tyler Hardy heard and briefly saw, but on the opposite spectrum and not being on the receiving end, but being a witness. 2 separate events at 2 separate times, but both happened in the same way, the same fashion. It's just weird. Do you know what it sounds like? You got a pair of truck drivers that come on down earlier. Kaden witnesses them. He's told to leave by one of which, and he goes with the guys. Jack remains up to a certain point. Then later, you got a second set of truck drivers, or pickup, comes along, and now Tyler's saying that he saw a person in a high-vis jacket telling someone to leave. Was that person being told to leave Kaden Pressy? But Tyler Hardy and Tyler didn't mention anything about the first pair of other truck drivers. That wasn't mentioned. So it's like blurred, not blurred, it's like double vision. Actual double vision. 2 pairs of truck drive. Oh God, 2 pairs of truck drivers at different times, but supposedly at the same time, in the mindset of Tyler Hardy. So Tyler Hardy is implying that what he heard or saw about a high-vis jacket person telling someone to leave, and upon hearing about Kaden from his side of the story being told to leave at 5:30, Tyler Hardy's saying, well, I saw someone in a yellow jacket and they were telling someone to leave. Well, that must be you, Kaden. But for you, Kaden, to say that you left at 5:30 and for us to be there at a certain time, it doesn't quite link together. Oh, no. What else? Cheap says, so supposedly the reason Jack came across the body is because he was on the way to his fishing trip, even though that was much earlier on and it doesn't correlate with the text conversations. If Carter Combs was supposed to go on the fishing trip, why wasn't she in the car with Jack when he supposedly left for the fishing trip? Good question. Carter herself posted online she was supposed to go on a fishing trip. Yes. That's why it makes me think that Jack... I mean, first of all, where the hell does Jack live? Is there a possibility that Jack Newton left the party house before 4 in the morning, got down to the highway at 4 in the morning, for some reason parked up because it brought to his attention that there was a body by the side, which, you know, if it was just a body, would you normally park up and stop, or would you not think too much of it if you're passing by quick? But it was enough to get his attention, 4 a.m. on the highway, and then realises, oh, it's Noah. Let's just use that scenario. And then what? The first pair of the 2 truck drivers, unnamed, unknown individuals, come along and then notice that Jack's there first. So that's what gives Jack the free pass card later to remain there when Kaden's told to leave, because the 2 truck drivers found Jack there first and wanted to keep eyes on him because they thought he might be relevant to the case, the situation, because he was first on scene. But someone like Kaden, who came along late to the party, was seen as rubbernecking in the eyes of those 2 unnamed truck drivers, so one of which said, you need to go. I mean, that would make sense in a way. But where does it make sense in terms of why Jack was there at that time then, supposedly around 4 a.m. on the highway? Well, my point is, if people were leaving the party on the Monday, early hours of the morning and onwards, they were getting back home, getting back to family, going to jobs, going to education, whatever, is there a chance that Jack Newton wanted to leave the party house to head back home to wherever he lives, to have a shower, to have a proper wash, to clear himself up, and then be ready for later when they go fishing? Is that a possibility? But in the end, that wasn't possible, so he got distracted with the body situation on the highway. But supposedly, the phone did not ping on the highway at 4 in the morning. So, possibility that Jack didn't have the phone on him at the time, maybe he left it at the party house. And that would be reinforced with that idea is because at 5:15 he went back to the party house, as Kaden claims. Why would Jack need to head back to the party house if he's got his phone with him on the highway? Because he could make the call on the highway if there's a decent signal, and there must have been for the likes of Tyler Hardy and Tyler to make calls, right? So Jack could have made a call to those at the party house and said, hey, news has come out, Noah's dead, here he is, come on down, or do whatever you need to do. But instead Jack resorted to doing it in person. And that might be because he didn't have his phone. And in a way, that would be quite convenient for Jack. Less questions. Not as many answers needed. Makes me think. Difficult says, I'm very torn here. Videos show they posted Noah was missing because his best friend woke them and told them Noah was dead. How or why did he leave and come across the scene if he was asleep? Wait, what? You're torn here. Videos show they posted Noah was missing. Videos? What videos? And who posted Noah was missing? Are we simply just talking about Jasmine Millan at 3:41 a.m. in the morning on Monday? Because that's the only post that I've seen, and it wasn't even a video. It was just a photo by Jasmine Millan, archived and reposted elsewhere since, about announcing that Noah's missing. And there was no big deal about it because not much happened after that. But, you know, within the community, and I think the comments recently, people have been pushing that, no, there were partygoers that actually were trying to search for Noah after that point, trying to find him. So you're telling me that Jack was involved in that search and then came down the highway to have a look himself and then just happened to find Noah on the side? Is it because they were thinking, well, where could he have gone? He wanted to go home. No one gave him a lift. Maybe he tried walking back. Let's head down the highway and see if that's true. I don't know. I've not heard that enough. I've not seen it directly from the horse's mouth. I've seen people like re-quote or talk about it, general public, but I've just not seen it from the horse's mouth yet. Maybe because it was mentioned in the past and I've not catched up with the past, but, you know, let me know what you think there, right? And you say that Noah was dead. How or why did he have come across the scene? Are you saying how did Jack Newton come across the scene on the highway? Well, the only possible answer I can provide to you at this moment in time as a possibility is that Jack was leaving the party house early in the morning because he wanted to head back to his place of living to get a proper sleep, to have a wash, and then be prepared for the fishing trip afterwards. But he never made it because when going down the highway, providing he lives north, like Noah did, then would have come across the body on the highway and may have been torn to be pulled over and see what's going on. That's just my concept, right? And because he didn't get any further, and because he also had to alert people at the party house, or he wanted to maybe, or needed to for whatever reason, from then onwards, he just didn't go to sleep. He was like there and back at the scene and then at the party house and then there and back. Cheap says, but what I don't understand is why Kaden Pressy was told to leave, but it was okay for Jack to stay behind and for Caleb to later come and stay on the scene. Well, by the time Caleb came on down to the scene, is that because there was other people there now compared to who was there when Kaden was there? When Kaden was there earlier, who he came across may have been more strict and confrontational. When the likes of Tyler Hardy was there, if Kaden came across Tyler Hardy and that set of truck drivers, they may have been more lenient and allowed Kaden to remain on scene. It all comes down to who you deal with at a place at a time. Wrong place, wrong time with the wrong people, you might get treated like shit. But then another person that comes along later, who comes across different people at the scene, might be treated more leniently. And that's just because there's a different set of people on scene who are more patient, more understanding. It can happen. But as to why Jack was allowed to stay like he had some kind of special privilege card, I think it's because Jack was there before, earlier on, around 4 a.m, and maybe just a bit before that. And whilst being at the scene for whatever reason, right, then came a set of the first pair of unknown truck drivers that pulled on over, maybe because Jack warned them. And then those truck drivers were trying to figure out what was going on and, you know, work things out. But obviously not much effort because no call was made to the police. So Were they assisting with Jack in alternative ways? I wonder. But, you know, if you're first on scene, you tend to remain on scene until you're told to go, such as by authorities, or at least when authorities arrive. Someone needs to remain on scene, whether they've come across a person dead, alive, or injured, right? And because Jack may have been there first, those two older individuals, truck drivers that came on down, noticed Jack was there first and thought, you know what, you could be a person of interest, you could be responsible for this, we don't know, so we want to keep you in our line of vision and we don't want you going anywhere. And even if your friends come along afterwards or other people, we don't want them around, we don't need distractions. We just want you, Jack. We want you to remain here. That's one way of looking at it, right? What else? I'm sure Jack said he was his best friend. Kaden came along with 3 other boys. I assume at that point they were trying to maintain the scene. Yeah, I can definitely see sending random friends away if I was an adult on scene. You know, too many hands in the pot, too many hands do the dishes, whatever you want to call it, right? If you announce you're the best friend, there might be some leniency in that, okay, you can stay here. But even if that wasn't good enough case, you could just say, well, I'm the first here on scene and you've come after me, so, you know, I should have the right to stay here. But because Kaden was late to the party, no pun intended, he was just seen as an audience, and we don't need an audience, do we? So that's how you could interpret it in a way. But there's other ways of looking at it, and I've already outlined that previous. Cheap says, for reference, TH, Tyler, Hardy, KP, Kaden Pressy. The screenshots are from Tyler commenting on Facebook. Well, yeah, but where exactly on Facebook and what page and when? Okay, thanks for letting me know. I wasn't sure. Right, there we go. No way, initials. Right. Not looking too good at the moment, is it? There might be some misunderstandings along the way. What else do we have? Quick look here. Get off. Live discussion on YouTube. RRR True Crime. And this is by, well, call him Dummy, because that's what it says. DMMY Dummy. 11 hours ago. If anyone has been working, there is a stream happening now, or it's probably gone by now, podcast by the guy named RRR True Crime. He was kicked out of the Facebook group, Noah Presgrove's Army, due to his aggressive nature. Check the comments. Be forewarned, his podcast, as is his partner, is like watching paint dry. Okay. Well, there's a link there, but I don't want copyright, so I'm not going to click on it, but you can always check it yourself. Display says, someone trying to get his viewers and ratings up. I saw the things he was saying and accusing Kaden Pressy and his mom, Alicia Lee, of. He's working with the same ones who are accusing Kaden Pressy of lying. I'll pass. Look this guy up. He's a real winner. He's a little too aggressive, maybe. I don't know, to each of their own. He was aggressive for me. It was hard to watch. They seemed uniformed, and he was not truthful about a few things he said/did in the group. Not everyone has the best interest of Noah and his family. Not everyone is attached to his tragic story, is seeking true justice and answers. I think so of some of those that are investigating under the guise of being a podcaster and or journalist are trying and hoping for a big break. Noah's case has garnered national, international attention. In fairness, though, the Noah Presgrove case isn't as popular or to the same magnitude as the likes of the Jay Slater missing person case. Just as a comparison, that's all. Anyway, what better way to catapult fame than to be able to say, I solved the case or found a key piece of evidence? So you think there's a bit of opportunistic behaviour at this moment, circling like vultures. But to be honest, this case has gone on long enough. Why only now are people circling for the latest scoop? Thankfully, those in the comments kept him in check. He did give Kaden Pressy a half-arsed apology for his previous actions and statements. But what were those statements, I wonder? I was thinking the same thing. I tried looking him up, but couldn't find much. I feel anyone approaching the subject should be unbiased, present the facts and allow that to speak. I'm not going to watch this BS. It bumps up his ratings every time someone watches his video. He gets paid to spout nonsense. So it's not looking too good with this individual called RRR True Crime. You can let me know your experiences down below if you want. Phone calls, what's this all about? Has anyone ever mentioned or confirmed any phone calls to Noah during the time he was missing? Many of the kids stated Noah was missing, that they looked for him at various times, but does anyone know if anyone actually called Noah's phone during these times? Once again, we're getting these references about the kids searching for Noah when he was missing. What the hell's going on? See, this is what the problem is. Are we referring to the Jasmine Milan and Sarah Long situation, in which when they were talking on Facebook, or one was responding to the other, when Jasmine was defending herself November onwards of 2023 with her caption updated to give context behind her Snapchat post of Noah's missing? You remember that one? And then Sarah Long jumped on in and said, oh yeah. And, you know, the party itself and the footage, you know, it's stuff what we got up to in the past. It's nothing odd there. And as well, you know, we heard about Noah. You know, you said about Noah going missing or so the night before. Does that mean Sunday night or Saturday night? Either one. Going missing and then being found later by his friends and then brought back to the party house. And that you, Jasmine, talking about how you weren't anticipating him to go missing again and not come back. You just weren't expecting that. That, in the words of Jasmine Milan, for Noah to wander off, that was a normal thing to happen. And from what Sarah Long said as well, back that up. And in terms of how it's correlated, or, you know, how it's relevant, it's supposedly the party that happened at the time, the 4-day party that Noah wandered off from time to time. And at one point, went missing. People went looking for him, found him, returning back to the party. And then onwards, Monday, ended up going missing again, but not found this time. That's how I see it. That's how I've heard it in the past. Is that how other people see it? It's just because people aren't giving the source or the context as to where it came from, or who's stating this and who's stating that. I'm trying at least, but, you know, are other people confused? What's the comments here, then? Great question. Or during the night, agree, excellent question. Even like from the time they picked him up to come back to the party at 5 p.m, as Dusty stated on the Facebook page. Did he text or call them from the party throughout the night? Did they have Noah's phone? Where is his wallet? The wallet and phone really bothers me. What teenager doesn't carry their phone on them at all times? A person in a rush, a person that's just heard traumatic news, such as Kaden Pressy, that has to rush on down to the highway. It can happen. Right? Yeah, people are zombies to phones nowadays, but sometimes when there's shocking news or you're in a rush, you can forget stuff. It happens. There can be distractions. As for the phone, though, Noah's new phone, which he got Friday or days before that and took it to the party, that's in the hands of the police now. And in terms of Noah's old phone, supposedly some of the family members have it. But why is that not with the police as well? Yeah, that's what's been said in the community. I don't have like the horse's mouth. I don't have the source directly. Just wanted to make that clear. But that's what's been going on in the community, being talked about, passed about. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So you know where it came from and validity or so much of it. Right. Yeah, the bit about as for the interactions between the likes of Noah and other party goers on the Sunday when making it back to the party. I mean, well, would there have been as much? What I don't get is the original story, and it's been mentioned so often now until Kaden came in and did the interview, that Jack called Noah to say, come back to the party. So there were distances away from one another, 42 miles apart, right? And that was 5 p.m. when Noah came on down to the party. Was it 5 p.m. when he arrived at the party or 5 p.m. when he was about to leave because the call was made to him about returning? I'm not sure exactly, I'll be honest with you, okay? But that's how it's always been worded. And how it was worded in the past like that, I interpreted it that Sunday morning when Noah made it back to his house, he remained there up until 5 p.m. when the call was made. But then when Kaden came in recently and did that interview, Kaden said, well, Sunday morning, me, Avery, Carter, Brylan, and whoever the other bloody people are, and Noah and Jack were all together at Warwick gas station eating out and having an okay time. And then they drove me, Kaden, and the girls back to the party house. And then the rest of the guys went back out to town, Noah included, with Jack, and supposedly meeting up with Caleb, the father. And then later, they made it back to the party. So, how that comes across is there would be no need for the original story claiming that Jack called Noah about coming on back down to the party at 5 p.m. when throughout the day they were together hanging out. When you're hanging out physically, face to face, and you're there all the way through for most part of it, you don't need to call one another when you're in the presence of one another physically. That's what I can't understand. Kaden is making it seem like, well, not making it seem like, but from his side of the story, from what he witnessed, Kaden is basically saying Sunday morning onwards throughout the day, Noah was already around Jack physically. So that when 5 p.m. came about, that's irrelevant now. A call being made because they were together all the way through. Going from place to place. What the hell's going on there? Now, Kaden didn't mention anything about Noah being dropped off back at his house throughout the day and then a possible call coming in later. That context wasn't given, or that scenario was not mentioned. If it was, then I could understand it clearer, but no, that's not the case. So if you're out hanging out together throughout most of the day up until 5 p.m, even beyond 5 p.m, and you all make it down at the party, what the hell is this whole phone call all about? You don't even need to make a phone call if you're face to face with one another. What the hell? See, the original story made more sense. Noah distances himself from Jack after that argument on a Saturday, supposedly. And then later on Sunday, Jack calls up to say, hey, why not come on down? Let's make it up. Not literally, but you get it? That would make more sense. Because when you have a falling out, an argument with someone, tends to be someone you know, there is a brief spell, or longer, depending how severe the argument was, of where there's no contact and you distance yourself mentally, physically. Then later, you might hang out again and things go back to normal. That original story would make sense in this case, but Kaden's saying that they were back together again, like Humpty Dumpty, early in the morning. The fuck's going on? Anyway, anyone else missing around the same time? Yeah, okay. So, what else do we have? Jack Newton should give more interviews. Clearly knows a lot about what happened to his best friend because in every interview he always mentions how Noah totally wasn't beaten to death and it was just an accident. No comments there. Well, no, there is 3 comments, but there's no comments shown. That's dodgy. Maybe they're not moderated yet. 15 hours ago, People article, authorities reveal suspicion from strange scene where Noah Presgrove's body was found exclusive. What the hell is that all about? Key details from article, Jimmy Williams first on scene. Robin has mentioned in the past that the first person on scene was Bub Wilcoxon, who is a Tyrrell volunteer firefighter. But in a separate interview, says he only alerted the fire department for their initial assistance on September 4th. Yeah, so the other way around. We have seen this, okay? You can check my previous video out if you want. Well, then there you go. His description of Noah's body position is damn near identical to Kaden Pressy's. Now let's cracking with getting folks in cuffs. Wait, is this person being sarcastic or being serious? The description of Noah's body's position is damn near identical to Kaden Pressy's. No, I would have to disagree with that. I mean, to a small extent, what Kaden Pressy saw is similar to what the Jimmy Williams, the police guy, saw in terms of Noah on his side and head twisted. But besides that, there was some very vast differences. What I'm going to do right here, right now, and everybody make sure to listen in, lock up. I'm going to show you a clip from the interview, credit to Partners in True Crime, in which Kaden Pressy recalled what he saw in terms of Noah's body, the position, etc. And then we will compare to what the police guy, first on scene, Jimmy Williams, said himself. There are vast differences. Listen in right now.
He was like laying on his side facing the ground. His hips were like facing on like you know how you're going to sleep, you're going to be laying on your side. He was laying on his side, but his chest was face down into the asphalt, and his head was like this, so he was like a little deformed, and his arms were sprawled out, and his legs were sprawled out.
So, in comparison to that, Jimmy Williams, the policeman first on scene, said that Noah Presgrove was not lying in the fetal position as some people who saw the body recalled. In quotes, he was laying somewhat on his side, but I wouldn't say he was in a fetal position. No, he said, saying his legs were straight and his arms not tucked into his body. Yet Kaden, when he saw Noah's body earlier, Kaden said Noah's arms and legs were sprawled out, spread out, naturally or not. Were they spread out because that's how he landed on the ground when he was dumped on the side of the highway? Maybe. But then fast forward onwards when Kaden left and supposedly the body was tampered with and the black shorts were taken off, removed. To take shorts off legs that are spread out is difficult. Same with a top. That's why you got to move your body parts when taking clothing off or when putting it on. So by the time when the police guy came on down, when the body was already tampered with, that's why the legs were straight and why the arms were in a slightly different position, right? There's a difference, isn't there? So moving on. What do we have here? Unable says, my son suggested that maybe they ramped over him with the side-by-side and landed on him. That explained why there was extensive, mostly upper body injuries. But why would they do that in the first place, though? It could also explain why there was drag marks on his body. There is no question that he died somewhere else and his body was dumped next to the road. There is no question. Okay, right, yeah. There just wasn't enough blood at the scene. If it was a stunt gone wrong with the ATV, it makes sense that Jack so confidently says it was a vehicle accident. I mean, to be honest, was Jack tempting fate then if he was behind the wheel or somebody else? Kaden said that when they were together with Noah and they were coming back from some hunting, getting back to the party, Jack thought it'd be a cool idea to jump over a gap or a hole in the road or something. So did they try doing other extreme sports and high adrenaline stuff and it went wrong with a stunt? It's one way of looking at it, I guess, but I've not really heard it before, but it's a unique theory idea, right? Anyway, stunt gone wrong, ATV, it makes sense. Jack so confidently says it was a vehicle accident. Also, Jack's girlfriend really did delete Jack's number from her contact list, and maybe Jack drove the ATV when the accident happened. All these are just theories, but it does answer a couple. Why the missing clothing? The only one shoe that didn't belong to him that he was wearing. So many questions. More questions now than ever before, probably. In all fairness, I think we probably should leave it there for now because there are probably other posts which we need to look at in separate videos, right? I don't want to overload people with like confusing stuff or lots of information or lots of discussions because there's a lot of that already going on. That's why we do it bit by bit, but I just wanted to do a bit of a catch up now. There's still a lot to do, right? But if that interview of Kaden Pressy is coming tomorrow or close to that, then I'll have to focus on that itself, won't I? And then that pushes everything else behind. So it's going to take even longer to cover and tick off the list. But I guess with the other case in the background pretty much done and dusted, I can focus more here. Maybe make 1 or 2 videos a day, but, you know, practically as well, because it can take some time to do and requires focus. So we'll just see how it goes. If you are confused, you can always let me know how confused you are down below. And if you want to catch up on recent videos where the eye symbol is, you'll be able to find that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.